Hello, welcome back to Aetheral Space 11.34, Fire and Brimstone. We are back.
Yes. Last we saw... come on. You know.
What,
You were there.
Did he fuck? Why is he so sly about it?
You know what
No,
Lunalay did.
You remember.
Lunalay putting
You
a
know what he did
finger
to
on
that
his...
age rating?
Lunalay biting his lip like, I'll never tell.
It's like one of those Tumblr gifs where he's like, you here now. He's like in his giant back.
Would Lunalay be a Tumblr sexy man?
I think
Is he a twink?
he's a tad too evil. He would get like posts about his problem, how it's
The Onceler literally had a song about, like, destroying a forest and ruining lives of all animals.
Yeah, but you would get the Tumblr sex examples, but you get like the paragraph long like pages about how you're wrong for him being a Tumblr sex. You're like, as a character, it reflects poorly on you if you stand him.
I see. Power! Fire and brimstone.
Is it the thing?
Lunalay luxuriated in it. Red Aether dominated everything around him, every inch of the titanic being he'd made himself the core of. Controlling Vangloria was as easy as moving his own body. Mechs exist in Aetheral Space, right?
Yeah.
All it took was a thought to move that massive arm upwards, metal creaking and screeching, and wave it in the direction of the Hanged Man.
See this one right there?
What?
There's a mech right there.
Yeah, but the Hanged Man's like a special mech, right?
Yeah.
It's like a goop mech. The movement produced a mighty gust of wind, forcing the Hanged Man to brace itself as it went skidding backwards. But that hadn't been the intent, no, not at all. As Vangloria made the movement, Crimson Aether shot out of the hand, stopping in the air like a second miniature sun. With a flash, the confluence of Aether transformed into a flat black plane, circular like some kind of dark portal. The Hanged Man, clearly anticipating what was about to happen, went to roll out of the way. Oh, but it was far too late for that. "Kill them, Vangloria!" Lunalay hissed. The black hole widened just a tad, and an endless flood of pitchforks came flooding out, buffeting the Hanged Man. These weren't the same as the pitchforks Lunalay had used before, more like shadows with substance than anything else. But they were more than enough to do damage. Each pitchfork that struck the Hanged Man was scraping away just a bit more of its liquid metal, slowly but surely reducing its size. How long would it be before he saw the Arcana automatic skeleton? The Baron was so looking forward to it. Oh, Lunalay remembered. You exist as well, don't you? Vangloria... Oh. That's a typo. Looks like...
Snipers. Aim for the memory center of his brain.
Vangloria whirled around.
It's like not to kill you, but to like write your memory of a sniper bullet.
That's actually kind of... That should be a technique. That's so stupid, but I love it. Vangloria whirled around with speed incongruous to its size, and Lunalay came face to face with the man who'd come swooping in, Roy Oliphant Dawkins. His skin dragon had reshaped itself again, more like a butterfly than anything else, with two massive wings spread out as sails. Lunalay considered the Oliphant Patriarch, a brown mane of hair cascading and wild like that of a lion, eyes narrowed in single-minded predation. A body built to survive. Every aspect of this man suggested the animalistic. Well, it rather suited a disgraceful beast to be skewered, didn't it? Vangloria raised its hands up, and black portals opened on the ground, each providing a massive black pitchfork to his waiting grasp. In an instant... Let me go ahead and fix that for you.
Thank you.
World order. He flipped them over in his hands and thrust them down through the wings of the skin dragon, piercing the epidermis and pinning Oliphant's familiar to the ground. Oh.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I love hearing your mom. She sounds so nice. What a lovely lady. Roy stood up, releasing the reins of skin he'd been holding. No doubt he'd predicted Vangloria's next move, but too late, too late! Always just a second too late! These people were so slow! Lunalay turned the pitchforks buried on the ground. Should it be buried in?
Yeah.
Buried in the ground, contorting the skin between them, and twisting it around Roy, holding him in place like a spiderweb. He was fully restrained, with only his head and a single forearm being visible. Captured by his own ability? How droll! I wrap it up like spaghetti. With that same grin on his face, Lunalei turned his head to see the Hanged Man charging towards him once more. The Arcana Automatic had escaped the barrage of shadows, but it seemed it had lost roughly half its mass in the process. Can it rebuild?
It has to, manually gather it back up.
This is so sad. Such a tiny thing it was, running towards Vangloria as if all life depended on it. Well, Lunalei supposed. It was just the right size for a kick now. I've always wanted to be in Blue Lock. Turning Vangloria back to the Hanged Man, he drew its foot back, ready to slap... Oh, wrong it's.
What do you mean?
Ready... Oh, New World Order.
Parried.
Ready to slam into the automatic with all the power he could muster. An involuntary laugh spilled from his throat, free and wild and, more than anything, victorious. He was curious to see just how far this supposed legend would fly. You know, Stewie's voice in Family Guy? I can't do it, but that's... I can't do that voice, but that's how I imagine Lunalei's, inner monologue and voice. It's like, oh, Brian... Vangloria's leg struck out at the Hanged Man, fast as lightning. There was a flash of white light, and a second later, Lunalei found himself falling over. Oh dear, his balance had suddenly failed him. Vangloria toppling over under its own weight, and the only thing that prevented a full collapse was the great armor planting its hands against the ground and pushing itself back up. Good fix, I was about to correct you. What had happened? Lunalei looked around wildly, his eyes uncomprehending. An attack? Had an unseen enemy struck? Before he could consider the situation, though, the Hanged Man was in his face again, attacking without mercy. One of its arms had disappeared, the material reallocated to increase the size of the other huge hand, fingers extended and sharpened into claws. It slashed towards Lunalei's body, taking advantage of his sudden decrease in elevation. Damnation, Vangloria! The Black Titan twitched its fingers, and another portal appeared immediately to the left of the Hanged Man, firing off another swarm of shadows before the attack could make contact. Instantly, the Hanged Man moved to dodge, but not by ducking or leaping. Instead, it decomposed into a puddle of liquid metal, splashing onto the floor as the torrent of pitchforks passed above it. Wait, but they're inside!
Yeah,
how?
It's a big puddle.
But are they a puddle now?
They're inside the puddle.
It's a thick puddle.
Yeah.
There was a hollow crack as Lunalei creased a stone brow. Irritating, but vermin often were. Vangloria raised its foot up to stomp down on the pest, but at that same moment the Hanged Man reformed itself, abandoning the shape of humanity entirely. It lashed out as a long, snake-like creature, wrapping itself around Vangloria's leg as it came down. The constriction wasn't enough to actually do any damage, but the positioning meant that Lunalei couldn't easily attack it without hitting himself. What on earth? When had this planet assumed such competence? A moment ago, it'd just been running at Vangloria again and again, attacking with simple punches and kicks, and now this? Had Lunalei been tricked? Had Lunalei been hustled? Each thought provoked a new spike of anger, a new fury that tightened his grip. Oh, is Fury a he? Ooh, a new fury that tightened his grip and clenched his jaw. Oh no, he's doing that. To hell with it. An insult like this could not be tolerated. Never tolerated! Vangloria could withstand its own power anyway. 6 black portals opened up around Vangloria's leg, facing inwards, locked onto the Hanged Man's tightening shape. He thought he was clever, didn't he? So very clever. Would he feel the same once he'd been reduced to mincemeat? Ha! Doubtful! Why does his inner monologue just sound like you being Chewie?
Because that's his
So
character.
good. I love him. The shadow pitchforks fired, zooming towards the Hanged Man from every direction, ready to cut away at insolent meat and skeletal set. They missed. Lunalei's eyes widened. No, they hadn't missed. They had been dodged. A second before they would have made contact, there had been a red flash of light, and something about the Hanged Man had changed. Oh, is she powering up the Hanged Man? Can you do that? Can you do that with skeletal set?
She did it with the ship, if you remember.
Oh my lord. It had pulled itself up his leg with new strength and speed, and the shadows had done little more than buffet around Vangloria's leg. It creaked with protest as Lunalei swung that massive body around, looking for his prey. A weight on Vangloria's back. There! Lunalei thrashed the construct violently, enough to send the unwelcome passenger flying off, and then he whirled around, seizing it out of the air with one of Vangloria's hands. Seeing that he'd effectively captured the Arcana automatic, he allowed his grin to return. I love that language, because it's like, I will allow myself a grin as a little treat. Now I can smile. The Hanged Man had retained its serpentine shape, but now tiny little legs wiggled out from its form as well. It must have used those to climb up Vangloria's body. It took Lunalei a second to realize just what the pathetic organism reminded him of. A ferret! How dull. Well, how is a ferret dull, Lunalei? What is a good animal to Lunalei? What's a good animal to him?
A lion.
Oh, a lion's not dull?
No, or bats.
I hate Lunalei now. What was more interesting was the armor the Hanged Man was now wearing. Strips of industrial grey metal were wrapped around the automatic like a rib cage, and a skull mask was stretched around its head. Lunalei had seen this before, hadn't he? Ruth Blaine had used an ability just like that to increase her own strength and speed. So she was piloting the Hanged Man. Just as... Hang on. Oh, I'm taking damage.
He's so powerful, you get it just from being near him to narrate.
Ugh. Just as Lunalei realized that, the head of the Hanged Man split open vertically and, like the tongue of a frog, a sharp tendril lashed out from the opening to strike at the Baron directly. With a contemptuous sneer on his lips, he easily snatched that out of the air with Vangloria's other hand. The tendril quickly exploded out into a net that kept the hand closed, but no matter. He could more easily kill this woman with clenched fists anyway. Very poor showing, Ruth Blaine, he declared, knowing she could hear him. It reeks of desperation. You... Footsteps. A thought occurred, and it was one that really should have occurred a while ago, delayed only by the chaos of combat. If Ruth Blaine was the one piloting the Hanged Man now, where was the one who'd been piloting it earlier? Lunalei whipped his head around just in time to see a young man running across Vangloria's shoulder. Pink aether was coursing across his body, so it took a moment to get a good look at his face, but the Baron recognized him all the same. Scout Oliphant Dawkins, another member of that accursed family. Something was clinging to the back of his neck, too, legs buried into his skin, aether shining from it like an aurora borealis. He knew this. Lunalei knew this. Aether battery. Begone! The Baron roared, moving to swipe Scout off with his hand, but that hand refused to move. Wait, so this is Baron himself or the Vangloria's hand?
A Vangloria's hand, sorry. That was correct.
Okay. No, you're good. I just wasn't sure. Vangloria's hand, but that hand refused to move. His eyes flicked back wide in horror. The main body of the Hanged Man had oozed out into a web as well, holding Vangloria's massive hands firmly in place. He was trapped. He was stuck. In that moment, all he could do was watch as Scout Oliphant Dawkins leapt up towards him, hand outstretched in a grab. Get away from me! Lunalei screamed. Perfect Palace! Scout cried. Palisade Brimstone! And in a massive flash of pink light, the two of them vanished. Popcorn.
The second the Baron disappeared from the head of his mecha, the red light that had coursed through it faded away, and it ceased all movement. It was still holding onto the Hanged Man tight as shit, though. That was a pain. Accepting she wouldn't be able to break free, Ruth reached her hands up into the liquid metal above her and let her pull her inside. Her eyes and mouth firmly shut, she felt herself be transported through the body of the Hanged Man, finally emerging on the outer hull. From there, it was just a matter of squeezing out from between those massive metal black fingers. Roy, she called out through her hands. You alive? Yeah, came the distant reply. How about you? That's Skipper. Wait, that's Skipper's voice.
What the fuck?
That was my... What was Roy's voice again?
It was kind of southern.
Wait,
no, sorry. You're saying Roy, sorry.
Yeah.
Roy's was kind of like this.
Oh, yes, I remember now. Yeah, how about you, Midoriya Shonen?
Yeah, exactly. Think All Might.
Ruth ignored the useless question as she jumped off the Hanged Man to the ground below, using a skeletal set to break her fall. Every few seconds, she glanced nervously over her shoulder at the spot Lunalei had vanished from. How long would he be gone? How much time did they have? I can seal him away for a little while, Scout had said before handing her the controls. Give you folks time to come up with a plan or something. All you need to do is distract him so I can get in close.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
So Perfect Palace is like a separate, like, alternate dimension, right?
Could be.
Did that cut, if it is, did it cut his connection to all the Aether that he's been stealing?
Not necessarily. He can't control Vangloria, but he still has access to that Aether.
Gotcha.
Because he needs to actually be in that spot to control the Vangloria.
I see.
Ruth wanted to have faith in her comrade, but when he'd said it, there'd been that look in his eye. Running across the scorched ground, she reached the pile of skin that served as Roy Oliphant Dawkins' prison. Her nose was wrinkled as she caught a whiff of the skin blanket. It had already started to rot, and she had to wave her hands wildly to keep the flies away. She looked up at Roy, at the head and arm emerging from the epidermal mass. Am I okay cutting through this? She asked, holding up her claws. Roy shook her head. Won't work. Way too tough. Oh, this ability is an asshole. Once I grab skin, I can't, ungrab it looks like. Shit. She glanced over her shoulder again. How long do you think we have? Roy sicked an air through his teeth. Maybe a couple of minutes, 4 or 5 at most. Hard to say. Either way, you'd be best off getting back into the hangman, girly. Girly? The hangman's trash, she said. Yeah, but it's sturdy. When Scout's ability ends, this whole place is going to go through it.
Why don't they just climb into the cockpit? Because then if Lunalei wants to go back there, he has to fight whoever's inside.
Well, the cockpit is just like the space above the neck, basically, so...
Right, but you mentioned he has to be in there to control it, so if they're waiting in there, then if he wants to control it, he has to fight whoever's in there, like normally,
well,
right?
Perhaps we'll find out in a second.
Perhaps.
The hangman's trap, she said. Yeah, but it's sturdy. When the Scout's ability ends, this whole place is going to go through it. This damn skin should protect me a little. I can infuse just my arm and head to get through the rest, but you don't want to be out in the open. Ruth furrowed her brow. What do you mean, gonna go through it? What was that? I thought his perfect prison thing sent things to another dimension or something. Well, Roy sighed. That was the idea. Yeah, that was what Scout was going for. That's a damn hard thing to do, you know? A whole other plane or realm or whatever. Couldn't figure out in the end, so what? So, Roy winced. He kind of found a workaround. The Baron Lunalei de Fleur had been shrunk. He could tell straight away. Vangloria, summoned and controlled by his Aether, was like an extension of his own body. Even if he couldn't move it from outside of the cockpit, he could still feel its position and status. And as he'd been swallowed up by its ability, he'd felt the construct grow larger and larger in relation to him. There was no way Scout Oliphant Dawkins would have used ability to enlarge his enemy's weapons. The obvious conclusion was that he himself had been shrunk. It could have happened in worse places. The room Lunalei had been deposited in seemed to be some kind of kitchen, stocked with ovens and stoves, freezers and fridges. The Baron experimentally tapped away at the controls of a nearby coffee maker, but there was no response. Just a hollow
dollhouse.
Yeah.
But wait, it was definitely an alternate dimension the first time, wasn't it?
No.
But we saw, like, you mentioned everything disappeared.
Well, yeah. We'll see the thing, the explanation of it, yeah.
Alright.
Just a hollow prop then. Why even bother with a decor if it served no purpose? Another waste of Aether. As he strolled through the room, the Baron showed no trace of anxiety. How long would he be restrained within this ability? Was there a time limit, or was it a conditional seal? Lunalei peered through a nearby window and saw vast and indistinct shapes moving in the distance. The outside world, made unrecognisable by the sheer size difference. If he were to hazard a guess, Lunalei would say that he was currently within a space that occupied less than a millimetre, floating in the spot he'd originally been taken from. When the ability...
Microscopic dollhouse.
Yeah. When the ability ended, he most likely would be returned to that previous location. But if leaving required some kind of action from him, just sitting around thinking about it wouldn't do much good. No, not at all. First thing first, lay of the land. Lunalei gently closed his eyes and released a ping of Aether, allowing his red energy to flood through the space.
Hold on, follow-up question.
Yeah.
If he made a dollhouse that's like less than a millimeter and it's all microscopic, why doesn't he just like step on it or like?
Well, it's very sturdy. He also goes into it when he uses it.
Oh, I see.
As expected, he was surrounded by his enemy's Aether. Down to the walls around him and the floor he stood on. If he traced the shape of that Aether, though, he could get an idea of the layout. 6 floors with staircase running through the corner. Right now, he was on the bottom floor. Plus, he could feel the spot where the Aether was thickest, most prominent, right at the top of this complex. Lunalei was willing to bet that was where Scout Oliphant Dawkins was. There was a possibility he was intentionally focusing Aether there as a decoy, but Lunalei doubted it. The boy had needed to use an Aether battery to pull off this bloated ability, says the guy who has like a million fucking Aether batteries going.
Yeah, for real.
There was no way he'd waste his capacity with a cheap trick like that. So Baron had to get up 5 floors to reach his adversary. He doubted it would be as easy as just walking up the stairs. Perhaps there were traps in place, or some other kind of defences. Better test things first. With a grunt, Lunalei allowed a single pitchfork to claw out of his elbow, seizing the handle with his other hand and pulling it free. It was thin and fragile, the barest sliver of Lunalei's power, but it would do. With an analytical gleam in his eyes, the Baron released the pitchfork and let it zoom up the stairs. It wouldn't take much to dismantle an ability like this. Murder was but a simple labour.
Was, but... Alright. Well played. I had questions, I think. I don't know if I was smart enough to write them down, though. Let me think. Okay. Tell us about some in-universe movies, like some videographs.
Well, we know about October Jones, those detective films. Videographs, even.
Let's put it this way. Let's make it topical. What is an example of Aetheral Space's Barbenheimer?
Barbenheimer.
Yeah, like 2 diametrically opposed movies released the same day.
Well, there was one that was a biography of the first Supreme, Azez, that was praised for its historical accuracy in the UAP and praised for its unpatriotism and sort of criticised for its lack of patriotism in the supremacy, and then banned.
What was the Supreme's name? Azez?
Azez, yeah.
Azez. Alright, and then what was the other
counterpart was trying to think of something. Cube Boy.
Here, how about this? Because what's a popular Pink Boy?
Cube Boy, the movie.
Cube Boy.
Yeah, he's a boy who he went into weird space and his head turned into a cube, and now he goes on adventures with his sentient spaceship.
I think I found the inspiration behind the Cubed Man. Saw that movie as a child, and he was like, "No way."
He was bullied as a child for it because he was screwing with his cube head. He was like, "Hey, it's Cube Boy. Where's your spaceship, Cube Boy?"
I did have one more question I just remembered, but I did indeed forget to write it down.
Mm-hmm.
Every Supreme we've heard about so far has been a man. Has there ever been a female Supreme? And if so, what was her name and what was she like?
There was Lusaria. She was the one a couple before Gale the Golden, and she was pretty tyrannical. She had an ability that could like so it seems like time manipulation, but it's more of a trick that looks like time manipulation. She could alter the pasts of things to change them.
Oh. That's kind of fun.
So she had an Aether armament, basically, that she had specially constructed, and she could sort of change the past of it to, like, change its ability.
You had that so ready. I can tell you've been world building in the background. You were ready. That's cool, though. Alright, well, we'll see you guys next time. Probably for the thrilling conclusion of the Lunalei fight, question mark?
Yeah.
Nice. Alright, bye.
Bye.